Hello, Aubrey. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Lindsay. How are you?
Aubrey, I have a question for you because we are following up on your commitment that you made here on the podcast recently. And I think our listeners heard it. So we're all going to ask.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, Aubrey, have you been charging your phone outside of the bedroom, outside of your bedroom?
Yes, I have. And it has been helping. I am sleeping better.
Well, there you go. Nice job.
Thank you. I don't do it every night, but the nights that I do, I definitely notice a difference, right?
Good.
I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
take a little while to fall back to sleep at 2 a.m. when I wake up, but at least I don't have my phone there to pick up and start reading the news or something.
Yes. No, that I'm telling you, it's worked for me. I mean, it's helped for
It,
sure.
it is
Right.
helping. So, yes, thank you
Um,
for the advice.
Good, yes, little hacks in life, right, that can really help. So but I wonder if our listeners noticed what I said there at the end. What did I say, Aubrey?
Yeah, after I said, "Yes, it's helping, I'm sleeping better," then you said, "Well, there you go." And this is such a native, natural way to confirm, encourage. We use it a few different ways. We got a great question about this phrase.
And I yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, how
Sorry,
we
go ahead.
say, "There you go."
How and why and when and what does it do? What's the vibe,
Right,
right? And
right.
I love it when we get these natural questions from our listeners. Clearly, Jason has been listening to native English somewhere and getting it, absorbing it, right? Love that.
Absolutely. Yes, and he
Mhm.
left us 5 stars, so thank you, Jason in Taiwan. Do you wanna
Yeah.
read the question for
Yes.
us, Lindsay?
Okay, so Jason says, "Thank you so much for creating such a fantastic podcast. Your lessons have really helped me improve my English." Well, that is great to hear, Jason. Bring your friends.
Yes. Yes, love it. Awesome.
Yeah. I have a question. I often hear people say, "There you go," but I find it hard to understand its exact meaning or how to use it in different situations. Could you explain the various ways "there you go" is used in English? I'd love to learn more about it from you. Best, Jason from Taiwan. Reviewed us in Apple Podcasts. Nice.
Yes, thank you, Jason, for the review and for the kind words. Thank you, everyone who leaves us a review. We read them, we really appreciate them.
Yes, we love seeing what you guys think about the show. It keeps us motivated to keep going. So
Yes.
thank you. Yes. Okay, Aubrey, let's break it down. Let's answer Jason's question directly.
Yes. So we use this expression, there you go, 3 different ways, and all of them are expressing confirmation of
Okay.
something.
Okay.
So the first one we'll dive into here is probably the most common. It's
Hmm.
said when giving someone something, right? And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
usually after a request for it. So
Hmm.
it kind of means like, here's what you asked for, or here's what you ordered.
Okay. So that one is the most straightforward, for sure, the
Yeah,
most physical one, right? So, for example, you give someone a book they had asked for and you say, "Here you go." Or, sorry, there are two things
either.
you actually
Hmm.
say. There you go, right? There you go. Or, here you go. What is the difference between those two, by the way? Is there any?
No difference.
Not
Yeah,
really.
I
Yeah.
would say they're
Yeah.
interchangeable. They mean the same thing. I'm glad you said this other one because we use both, right? We'll say, here you go, or there you go.
Yeah. No, there's
The,
really
the
no
one
difference.
difference I would say, I think, there you go is more often something's been requested and we're sort of saying, like, here's what you ordered. Whereas, here you go could be you're just giving them something, whether they asked for
Mm,
it or not. You might then need to explain why you're giving it to them, but
yeah.
there isn't sort of this implied
Okay.
request that has been
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the time you can get away with both, most of the
Oh,
time, right? It's
absolutely.
very, very subtle. So yeah, so there you go, physically handing over something. Yeah?
Yeah, or maybe a server, if they're giving you your food, they
Mhm.
might say, "There you go," and then they just
Yeah.
set the plate down, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, as you said, Aubrey, that is the most straightforward. Now let's move up in difficulty level maybe, and what would be
Yeah.
the next one?
Okay, so this next one, it means that you have demonstrated my point that I just made. So I made some kind of point, I said something, and so it has a very similar meaning to saying, "See what I mean," or "You're right," right? You're
Mhm.
confirming, the point someone has made.
Yeah, and this is the one we used at the very top of the show, right? When
Yes.
yes, you said that the strategy was actually working, and I had recommended that strategy, and so I you've proved that it's working. Yeah?
Exactly, right?
Mhm.
And it is very encouraging too, right? So for example, let's say that you say you think a store opens at 9 and then a friend confirms it opens at 9 and then so you could respond, "There you go." Right? So you're
Right.
sort of like you have stated something, someone else confirms it, and this is a very friendly way to,
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, see,
Yeah,
you're
I'd say
right
it's
or I was right. See what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty friendly, right? It's upbeat.
Yeah.
It's not rude or kind of yeah, it's not in any way. It's just being polite and kind, right? Most of the time. Another example, you say no one is hiring. You say that no one is hiring for a job, and a friend says they've applied a ton of places and haven't heard back. And then you say, "See, there you go," right? Meaning, "See, I'm right. No one is actually hiring." Right?
Exactly, right? And this real we you will hear this all the time. We use this all the time because the other ways you could say this, right? To say like,
Hmm.
"See, I'm right," or
Or
"See,
see,
you
I
proved
told
my
you.
point," or
Right?
whatever you
See,
could say, almost sounds more like know-it-all-ish, whereas
right?
this is very friendly and sort of collaborative, like, "Yeah,
Or just the
exactly.
real
There you go."
or just the really obnoxious that kids say sometimes, "See?" Right? That's super obnoxious and annoying, and you just don't wanna
Right?
say that as
Or
an
"Told you
adult.
so, told you so."
Told you
No.
so. Don't say those things as an adult, no.
Right?
You're right, so this kind of is the adult equivalent of
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
In a
Uh-huh.
way, but it's more polite, it's more pleasant. Okay.
Exactly. All right, let's dive into number 3, which is very similar, but is just said it's often just said to encourage. So it means more like you did it or you've done well.
Good. Yes, I love that. So, for example, after teaching a child to serve a volleyball, right? You teach them to serve in the game, and they succeed many times. And you want to say something to encourage that kid. Say, "There you go." Right? What intonation would you use there, Aubrey?
Yeah, I think
There
that
you
works
go.
or there you go
There
because yeah,
you
it's
go.
often it's like if someone has tried and tried there have been multiple attempts. This was also said to me recently at pickleball because I was trying
Oh,
like a new serve and when I finally got it, I remember my partner being like, "There you go."
interesting.
Right? So it's
Yeah.
more sort of acknowledging the effort that has been made, the failed attempts
Yes.
and saying like, "Okay, you finally got it. You did it." But very
Yep.
encouraging.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the intonation. There you go, right? There you go. It's harder on the back end. It's punched on the back end. Love that.
Yes, I
Mhm.
agree.
Any other example?
Yeah, so I've done this before when someone can't think of a name and then they finally remember it, right? You'd be like, "There you go." And this we're punching a little more the front end because it's sort of like especially if together you're not remembering, if you're both like, "What was their name?" and you're both trying to remember and someone says, "Janet." There you go. Right? So it's
Mm,
sort of it's almost kind of a combination of number 2 and number 3, right? Where you're
perfect.
confirming that someone figured it out, but also like giving that little bit of praise like, "Oh, you're the one that figured it out. Good job."
Yes, I love that. So good. These are all very distinct ways we use this phrase, right?
Yes.
Okay, Aubrey, let's get into a role play and see where these show up in our conversation. So here we are discussing upcoming movies. I guess that means movies that are going to be released soon. Yeah?
Exactly. Yeah, you wanna start us
Mhm.
out?
Yes. I think some good movies will be in the theater soon.
Yeah, Wicked opens next week.
Well, there you go.
Hey, I was at Costco and got you some of those chocolates you like. There you go.
Oh, there you go, being so thoughtful again.
Nice. So we used all
Nice.
3,
Yep.
and this could
Mhm.
happen that they all come up in in a conversation
Sure.
because like you
Yeah.
mentioned, Lindsay, they all sort of have different intonation, and
Yeah.
because they all mean something a little different, a native English
Yes.
speaker might not even realize that they're using the same words.
Exactly, exactly. They feel very different. And so the
Mhm.
first one, I said I think there will be some good movies, and then you gave me an example to prove my point, right? Which is that
Exactly.
lines up with our example at the top of the show too. And I said, "Well, there you go." Right?
Exactly, right? That's the second way that we use it. You're
Mhm.
confirming, you've proven a point. Ah,
Yes.
there you go.
Yes, exactly. Then what else, Aubrey?
And then I said, "Oh, I got you some of those chocolates you like, and now here I'm just handing you something," right? So I hand you this bag of chocolates. There you go.
Mhm. Yes, good. And then now, so this is yeah, number 3. The example is number 3. And you've given me these chocolates, and I want to say, wow, thank you so much. It's a way of saying thank you, right? And what would you say, Aubrey? What do you think?
Yeah, and that was
No?
perfect. Like, "Oh, there you go, being so thoughtful again." So yeah,
Yeah.
this is interesting, right? So it's sort of encouraging someone for being such a good friend, being thoughtful that we use this, "There you go." It's
Yeah, this
interesting.
is really interesting. I'm basically saying, "Oh wow, you're being so thoughtful." Exactly. I want to acknowledge that you're being thoughtful in this moment. That's what you're
Exactly,
saying.
yes,
Yes.
and so sometimes we'll say it, sort of at the top of a phrase like this, and in that case, the intonation, we hit "you" harder, right? There or it's still there, we're still saying "there" louder, "There you go," but we
There
kind of
you
slow it
go.
down, we sort of emphasize each word, "There you go," being so thoughtful again.
Exactly. And for our listeners, guys, if you listen really closely, the intonation is very different from the first one where you said, yeah, Wicked opens next week. Well, there you go. right? Very different. I would never use the same intonation with
Right.
this last example.
This is really tricky where for all three of these, the intonation, a lot of the meaning of like which there you go you're using is in
Yeah.
the intonation of the words.
Wow, that's really a really important point, right?
Mhm.
You can't just say the phrase. To convey the meaning, we need to say it completely differently.
Yeah, I would listen to this episode twice. Like now that you have
Yes.
the meanings of all three ways that we use it, go back,
Mhm.
listen to the intonation, note the difference, which words are being emphasized, how do we slow down a little bit because there's a lot of meaning in that intonation.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So, where else can our listeners go as we're finishing up today if they want more All Ears English?
Yeah, we want to make sure you didn't miss episode 2315. Just scroll up a recent episode that was Who Asked You? Rude Phrases to Avoid in English.
Mhm.
Intonation is also big in that one. And these are some phrases you do not want to be saying. So we want to make sure you didn't miss that.
Yes, exactly. And while you're going back to that episode, guys, hit that follow button right here on All Ears English so you won't miss a single episode when it drops into your listening queue. Now, Aubrey, I feel like we've stumbled on something important, which is intonation. It really matters, especially with a phrase that has three different uses,
Exactly.
totally different uses. So, what's our takeaway today? What else should
Yeah,
we know?
there you go. Like you said, it has three different meanings, and depending on the intonation and the context,
Hmm.
it could actually be quite confusing if you use the wrong intonation. So
Yeah.
definitely, I'm glad you guys are following here. Use today's tips because we want you to be able to use these and understand them when others use them. But the intonation is everything.
I also think this phrase could be really useful for our listeners who feel like the conversation just dead ends for you, right? I know that we've
Mm.
seen that in surveys when we've talked to our listeners. Sometimes they feel like they don't know what else to say. Like I could see an example, I think good movies are coming out. Yeah, Wicked opens next week and then silence. What are you going to say? Right? Yes, it does. Okay. What else? We need to say something else. And this could be an add-on to keep that conversation going,
Good
right?
point. It's such a great connection skill to
Yeah.
encourage this way, to confirm. And this is a
Mhm.
great way to do it to say, there you go.
Yeah, that's it. So, guys, put this in your repertoire, and we will be back very soon. We'll see you next time. All
Awesome.
right.
See you next time.
All right, good. Take
Bye.
care. Bye, Aubrey.